Hello viewers, welcome to In Business. This is your host Vikant Sahai today. We are going to talk about something which is involving safety. Yes, Goa is a place for sun, sand and sea. But yes, safety comes first. And to take care of that safety, we have Drishti Marine, and they are the ones who take care of all the 42 beaches in Goa. And why and how do they do it? We have with us the CEO of Drishti Marine, Mr. Ravi Shankar. Welcome to In Business, Mr. Shankar.
Thank you, Vikant. Thank you for having me over. Thank you.
Tell me something about Drishti, how it has been. I believe it is a 14-year-old company. But tell me something more about it so that our viewers are updated on this.
Thank you. Actually, Drishti as a company is driven by passion. It was not a profit derivative that we started the company with. It was built on the passion that Goa needed a water beach safety system in place. The earlier years of work that was done was primarily making the government aware, working with the public and the shack owners on a private basis. At some point, the government saw sense in trying to roll a tender out. So it actually meant that we created the requirement and then worked with the government to create a policy and then roll out a program. So the company goes back to almost 20 years of beach safety and marine history. And that's our background. We come from a space of actually trying to create safe beach ecosystems.
So how difficult or how easy it has been to work in a place where we have 42 beaches to man? And I don't know about the number of staff you have. How difficult it is for you?
Actually, to man 40 beaches or 400 beaches in terms of process, methodology and the systems that we have in place, we can fire up to 400 beaches as well. The trick lies in what is the passion the stakeholders show into adopting the safety practices. And Goa has been the first leader that's come into this initiative. No other state has done it in the way that Goa has rolled it out. We work with a team of 700 boys spread across 103 kilometers of the coastline of Goa, augmented with close to 50 4x4 jeeps for support system. We're adding to that, we have a layer of jet skis, which is in the 40 to 45 jet skis that operate on the water for quick rescue and redressal. Plus we have 38 towers across each of these beaches to man, monitor and support the team that is on the ground. So there's a large infrastructure that's been laid out and it's rolling well. The only area of concern that we constantly have is the burden of commercialization that happens to beaches. They tend to affect your beach safety practices to some extent.
So the second thing which arises to my mind is how responsible are the tourists themselves? Because that is one thing that they are dwelling into, something which is, you have pre-warned them that okay, this is not safe, but still they would like to enjoy themselves and ultimately land in trouble.
Actually, the word you're using is how responsible. I think when you're on vacation, you're also taking a vacation from responsibility as well, is what I have noticed on the beaches of Goa. To throw some interesting statistics in your direction, close to 90% of visitors who come into Goa do not know how to swim from an Indian tourist perspective, out of which probably around 65 to 70% of them have seen ocean waters for the first time. They'll probably run around in rivers and wells and ponds and then just suddenly come to this huge expanse of oceans. Out of which, again, the interesting statistics we found was that 70 to 80% of the youth that comes in between that 17 to 19 age group, they first time trying alcohol as well. So they are very potent combinations that fire up, not having an understanding of the water, not having any idea of swimming, add to that alcohol, peer pressure. So it's a recipe for disaster. That is what I have seen when it comes to, unfortunately, Indian clients. Whereas Europeans predominantly know how to swim. They know they understand the water, and more than anything else, they also respect the flag system that goes up. Whereas in India, we love to push the envelope. How far can I get away with not listening is what we have been wired to do culturally. So it takes a little time for us to break through.
So how do you manage this? Because this must be a very difficult situation when people are actually not listening to your warning calls. And then for very sure that it is not going to be safe.
Knock on wood, till now we have two layers of safety systems that we put in place. One is the intervention where actual drowning is happening. So that's the spine of the entire life-saving system that we have, which is powered with, the boys are with their what you call rescue tubes, their jet skis are ready, the jeeps are waiting. But the first layer that we have is also the preventive layer, which did not exist 8 years ago but now exists as a crew complement, where they're constantly whistling, bringing people out of the water, warning bears. So there's a verbal warning constantly being done. This layer did not exist in the first contract. We introduced it in the next contract because the burden was so high to prevent people from killing themselves. Yeah. And then we have jeeps with loudspeakers going up and down. I hate it personally because I don't want the sanctity of a beach ruined by loudspeakers blaring saying "Bahar nikliye, bahar nikliye." It's intrusive. But that is the only solution we found. In spite of that, yes, there are some guests who still like to push the envelope, in which case we have to physically go to them and tell them, please come out of the water, and it works till now. But there are some people who will still slip through the sea. Yeah,
so what are the penalties they have to pay? Is there any penalty, or have you been empowered by the government to fine them? Or
no, we have not been empowered.
Why is it so?
Well, that requires what you call legislative clearances. There's a different act that has to be passed for us to have, permissions to challan. So it's almost police powers to be vetted to a private agency. It's never been done in this country. The exception being Mumbai Municipal Corporation has this warden system for waste, which they have started recently. But beyond that, there is no private agency in India that I'm aware of that is empowered to cut a challan out, for an offence done. So,
will that help you?
Actually, personally, I am not a big believer of imposing penalties and challans. What I am a believer of is every communication system strategy that government of Goa uses, be it from HRD perspective, destination promotion perspective, the communication language has to be built on nice, safe, and be safe. The communication models have to change a little for people to start perceiving Goa a little more differently, is what I feel. I think the bottom line is not restriction or challans, but it's about, educating the people who are coming in, or sensitizing them at least. So,
let me take to the different topic altogether. For the last 3 years, how have you perceived or seen the tourism footfall in Goa happening since say around 2015 onwards?
Yeah.
How do you see the drop or the rise in the number of tourist footfall?
From what I can see on the strip and inlands as well, is the footfalls have increased, but the per capita spend is reduced. You have more number of people coming in from a different economic strata. So they're coming by self-drive jeeps, trucks, or vans. That they come in groups, stay in small hostels and guest houses, eat out of small eateries. So the per person spend has reduced. So invariably that means they're adding more burden to the infrastructure, not utilizing the premium products that will actually give you the value chain or in terms of driving tourism economy, and leaving behind a residue of human habitation and going back. So what I've seen over the 3 years is a degradation in terms of the wallet size, wallet share that's being able to, Go has been able to extract from a customer.
We have entered November.
Yes.
And still we are yet to see the number of tourists coming in Goa. We hardly see all those, rented bikes or rented cars, which you used to see about 10 years ago. It has drastically dropped. What is happening in that particular segment of tourism?
Again, like I said, from the 15-16 onwards, we look at the trends. The premium customers numbers have been dropping. Anything that's been happening in the premium space is built around meetings, incentives, conferences or exhibitions, or family weddings, the wedding programs. In the budget space is what we have seen an increase. But this year has been unusual because we had extended monsoons, plus you had cyclones which finished last week. So it's been an extended natural disaster. We had floods in between.
Thomas Cook.
Yes. Plus, international charters. Now we have Thomas Cook down. But my take is that Goa will continue to lose its relevance because other places are able to offer better products at a more competitive price. If you look at expensive destinations, Andamans are becoming more affordable or as expensive or cheap as Goa is. If you look at Sri Lanka, if you look at Thailand, if you look at Vietnam, if you look at eastbound Dubai is again cheaper than Goa. So the cost of entry in Goa is high, the cost of living in Goa is high, and the experience that you derive from it is getting marginalized year on year. So you will see a reduction.
So where do we have to begin with now? It should be the re-beginning, right?
I'm not a tourism expert, but as a layman, I can share. I think it'll have to be built around the stakeholders taking their products back to what it used to be originally. That means reduce the shack density, increase the price a little, build on a diverse tourism portfolio of products, and work from there. We cannot add more and more shacks, more and more restaurants. So all you do is end up doing price wars. I think we have to restrict capacity and build value.
So for Drishti Marine, what is your revenue model? How do you sustain yourself?
One is passion, of course. Yeah, we love the work we do. But besides that, as a company, we have been doing life saving with Goa Tourism as our primary client for now 11 years. This is the 11th year that we are running beach safety services. Till date, we have saved 5,000 people. We have had 1.2 million interventions done, and every minute we are intervening for a person not to die. But how do we sustain ourselves? Within the contracts, there is adequate margin for you to safely work with a 10 to 12% margin as an operating fee to run this enterprise. And yes, of course, if we don't get paid in time, that margin disappears overnight. Yeah.
Recently, there was a strike in your organization. What was that all about, and what happened in that?
It was a series of internal financial disasters that snowballed into it. One was our contract with Life Saving was concluding, the 5-year period was over. The contracts provided for an automatic renewal. However, there was a slight internal school of thought which felt that maybe we should retender. In the process, we were given an extension of 6 months to operate lifeguard services while the government thought it through. This meant all our overdraft facilities overnight got withdrawn. On top of that, we were also working with beach cleaning for the government of Goa. We were cleaning the beaches of Goa at that point in time. So we were carrying the burden of 2 paychecks, close to 1,000 people on payroll. With Ganesh Puja around the corner, overdraft facilities withdrawn. So suddenly we hit a brick wall, so which meant our salary payments were slightly erratic during a time which is very, very important for my teammates, Ganesh Puja. So we paid out salaries in installments which didn't augur well, unfortunately. And since it was also an emotional reason that the boys felt it is Ganesh Puja time and we need the money now. So yes, there were political factions that could wedge in there and play on the boys' sentiment.
So mixing business with politics, it's one of the major hindrances for any private sector to grow, and that is what probably happened with you.
I'm a big believer politics and business can actually work together. But the thing is whether the leadership wants it to do so. If the models are built around constructive, for debate and then building a business environment where your staff as well as you as management work together, that I think is good. But if it is not built on that premises of communication, then yes, you're at loggerheads, you're only going backwards. Historically, what we have seen in Goa is going backwards.
So what is the future? We are going backwards, fine, but what is the future and what is the positivity which you can churn around and show to the world that yes, Goa is different?
The future of Goa lies in its youth, and the segment that we work today with, out of the 600 boys who are on the water, they're all in the age group of 19 to 21. Very influential age group. They are the future for the state. I think what we feel we need to do is to actually bolster them, train them well, and equip them in their 30s with another alternate job. And that is what I think the state should do. It should be a facilitator to allow the 30 plus program to roll out, again through private investment and enterprise. Because the government is not expected to do it. The state should create a fertile ground for that 30 plus re-employment programs to kick in.
One last question. How much investment have you put in for the safety of the Goans? Or the tourists as well?
As of date, our capital exposure is around 27 crores, which we ran through for the first 5 years, and we hope to continue for the next 5 years to recoup.
I wish you all the very best in your endeavor for the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, viewers, for watching this program. I hope Mr. Ravi Shankar, the CEO of Drishti Marine, was able to convince you that yes, we are there for you, for your safety, and also you have to be responsible towards your own activities, which is fun at the beaches. Thank you very much for your cooperation. This is Vikant Sahay, your host, signing off.